Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Jim. You're very kind. I thank you, everyone, for being here. It's good to see all your faces and names of the faces I don't see. Yeah, I can say that this time in my life, there is nothing that is strange to me. I've experienced a lot of strange things in the last 20 years, which brought me back to some strange things that I remembered experiencing as a child. And so we're here to talk about, or I'm here to talk about my near death experiences. Blah, I tried to say, I've had two in my life, and the second one in 2001 was a huge catapult for me with my spiritual awakening, and which went into a what I call a quickening, which I wouldn't recommend anyone have a quickening because it's very intense. And I was saying earlier that this was coupled with the dark night of the soul type of experience that I had, and which, I was also going through okay, somebody asked if we can recommend that everyone mute. That's probably a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Um, so, so I was going through a few things in my life at the time, and I ended up with this experience spending a week in the psych ward, okay, because I didn't know what was going on with me. My family didn't know what was going on with me. They were very worried about me. And I would say I had maybe one little toe, one little pinky finger in this reality where I was in meditation a lot, constantly almost. And I still had a job and I still worked. But the near-death experience opened up this huge portal for me to remember who I am and pretty much why I'm here, and me personally, what my mission is on this planet. So my first near-death experience was, or NDE. I like to call it a death experience because I believe I really died. Was when I was 9 years old, and I had a childhood where I was being abused by a cousin, and it was pretty much on a regular basis. My sister and I lived with my grandparents, and my grandfather died when we were living there. And then my grandmothers raised us. Our parents were divorced, and were going through their thing at the time. And so our grandparents took us in, and my cousin, who is kind of not a nice person, but I got the better end of the deal, was an abusive person. And so one day he was beating me up, and he hit me in the ribs, and I popped out of my body. He hit me so hard that I popped up out of my body, in my head, out through my head. And I remember this, the pain. The pain was just for a second or two, and then I felt this, and I get emotional when I talk about these. I just felt this huge sense of peace, and I can't explain it more than just peace, and knowing who I am, and that this is not the body down there, is not who I am, and that I was so much more than that child who was being horribly traumatized and tortured and abused, brutally, all that. And so I knew that was a part of a role I was playing. And as I feel this huge sense of peace, and I'm watching this scenario, I turn around and I see the light being approaching me. And I know right away instinctively who this light being is. And I recognized him as who I call Yeshua, Jesus. I was raised Catholic. I was never a good Catholic, but that's my background, is Christianity. And so I recognized him as that being. And he approaches me, and it's not really walking. It's floating, I guess you could call it. And we're just there in that same space. And he tells me, he takes my hand and he says, and he calls me child. He says, come with me, child. You don't need to go back. You've suffered enough. And being who I am, I said, but wait. I said, but I haven't finished my, my goal, why I'm here. And, I have so much to do, and we're communicating telepathically. And he telepaths to me, are you sure you want to go back? You can always, rest here, do what you need to do, and come back later, reincarnate. I said, no, I want to go back. And it was like a split second. I can't in time. I don't know how long I was there. I just remember this conversation, but all of a sudden I'm back in my body, and I felt the pain at that point. And so I went on with my life. And then I've had, different relationships. I lived a pretty normal life. I ended up getting into, went to school for accounting, that type of thing. So I was kind of left-brained, and I was a bit of a psychic child. I would tell my grandparents that I could see, dead people, and they scared me. I could see ghosts, and I could, and they'd scare me. So I also told my parents that, and so they would tell me, that it was probably my imagination, and that, I believe it scared them, actually, probably more than it scared me. I don't know. So I suppressed it. And I ended up being actually a pretty shy person, and didn't have a lot of friends as I was growing up. And then as an adult, I started partying. That was what I loved to do, was party with friends and things like that. That's how I ended up finding a circle of friends through partying, drugs and alcohol, that type of thing. Not a lot of drugs, but just party and have a good time. That's how I handled life. And I didn't want to look at anything that I had to deal with. I ended up attracting abusive relationships, and because that's what I went through as a child, I'm assuming. I didn't have a very good relationship with my dad, and I felt like I was abandoned. But I didn't have really good relationships. I have a good relationship now, but it took me a while to be able to find a good relationship. So in 2001, when my second death experience, which lasted a lot longer, I was going through a breakup at the time. Let's see, I lived in Texas, in San Antonio, and some friends and I were going tubing down the Guadalupe River for a friend's birthday. It was her birthday. And what they did was they hauled us into a little school bus, the little short school buses. They packed us all onto the school bus to shuttle us to the river. And the bus was pulling a trailer with our ice chests and our inner tube. So it was one of those trailers you see where they carry lawnmowers and things like that. It was about medium-sized trailer. And on the way back, we had a really good day. It was awesome. Had a fun time down the river. It was the weather was perfect. It was a good day. There was, I think, 6 or 7 of us. I can't remember. But as we're getting onto the bus to go back to our car, I get on with my friends, and I see that the bus is full. And so something told me, I should get off and wait for the next one. But the people on the bus were going, oh, come on, come on back. You can stand. So I was up against the back door of the bus, and my friends piled on after me. So we're all standing in the aisleway. Some are, we're kind of just crushed onto the bus. And as the driver is driving down the road, he's going through these gears, and the bus is going like that. And as he's moving, driving away from a red light, he's in second gear. So he's probably up to 25 miles an hour. And the back door pops open and I fall out of the bus. And I remember it all. I land on the trailer hitch and I bounce off the trailer hitch and land on the pavement underneath the trailer that he's pulling. The trailer runs over my head and my body. And when the trailer ran over my head, I popped out of my body again. And I'm looking down. I'm looking as I'm, floating up there. I'm like, oh, okay, well, did that again. And I'm thinking, I'm looking down at my body and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we had such a good time. And here I go and die on my friends. This is really going to ruin their day. Because I don't feel any type of grief or sadness or anything like that. I know I've done this thousands of times. I know that, all right, well, this is over. So this is how it ends up. But I feel really bad for my friends. And then I start thinking about my family. My mom was still here and my stepfather had died in 98 and who I was really close to. And so I'm thinking, oh gosh, God, that's going to be bad on my mom. Because I helped her a lot. And then I'm thinking of my boyfriend at the time. I'm thinking, oh, he'll be fine. I don't have to worry about him. I'm thinking, oh, my sister, yeah, it's really going to be bad on her, because we're just the two of us. And so I'm thinking about my family, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm home. I'm just going to turn around again. So I turned around and I saw my stepfather. My stepfather was there. And he met me first, and I can see what looks like a tunnel, but I know it's a portal behind him. And he's telling me, my stepfather is telling me, and he looks the same, but a lot younger. And because he died when he was in his 70s, and I recognize him right away, and he's communicating with me, and he's telling me, you'll have, your mom is going to need you and you still have things to do. He's telepathically telling me that. And I'm like, what? But I don't want to go back. This time I didn't want to go back. The first time I did, I'm okay with that. But this time I'm like, no, because this was in 2001. So I'm going to give away my age. I was in my 40s at that time. So it's like, okay, I've done enough. But he goes, no, he let me go. So I started moving down into the portal. And what I see are these people on both sides of this portal or this tunnel. And I recognize them as I'm moving down the tunnel as being relatives or part of my soul groups. Of on my mother's side and on my father's side, and there are people in there that I don't recognize in this lifetime, but I recognize there because I know them from my soul groups. So I'm moving down this portal, and then as I'm moving down, and they're like nodding at me and smiling. I don't really hear them telepathically. I don't recall hearing anyone's communicating with me, but I do see, except for my dad, but I do see a huge bright light off in the distance, which is like a sun. And it's more, it's more beautiful. Words can't describe. If anyone's had any experiences like this, words can't describe it. So it's like you're looking at the sun, but it doesn't hurt your eyes. It's just so gorgeous. And I recognize this portal, and I always get emotional. And then I see this being coming out of this portal of light, this huge sun. And I recognize him again as Yeshua. And this time I just fly to him. I just fly. And he embraces me, and I just feel like I'm melting into him. And and I recall, this is what I recall the most, was his laughter. It was just so healing for me. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And it was just so healing to hear him, to hear his voice, and to hear him, and the welcoming of his arms and his energy. And I tell him I don't want to go back, and I just hear him chuckle. You know, he doesn't really say, "Well, you have to," or anything like that. He just kind of chuckles, and he asked me if I want to take go on a journey with him, and I'm like, sure, of course. Who's going to say no to that, right? So he takes my hand, and we're flying. I don't know, it just feels like we're flying. And anyone who's had out-of-body experiences, there's a thing called a natural wind, where it feels like you're moving, but you're something is pulling you or drawing you somewhere, and that's what it felt like. And so we're moving, and I feel like I just know intuitively that we're in the cosmos. Okay? And I just see all these lights going past me, and what comes into sight is what looks like a planet, but it's a water planet. And he's intuitively telling me this is this is where you have come from. This is where you can go back to once you complete your mission here on Earth. And so I'm, and I realized then that I'm, when we're all kind of water beings, but that's where I have the most joy, is on that planet as a water being, a mermaid, whatever you want to call it. And so he takes me there, and I have these experiences of being with my family as a water being on this water planet. And I have a mate, and I have children, and it's extremely emotional, even thinking about it now, because of all the love that we have there. And it's just so different than here. We're fluid. It's all about connection, and the love is, I'm not saying we don't love here. It's just it's tangible. Yeah. And, and when we're finished, and he's taking me through these memories of being this water being, and communicating with my husband, my mate on that planet. And it was, I don't know how long I was there. I won't, bore you with any more details, except for the fact that I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave. I wanted to stay there. And that's when he had to coax me, right? And he's like, well, as he's communicating with me, and it's kind of without words, really. It's without words. He's telling me, you can always come here. You can always come here, which I spent a lot of time doing after my near-death experience. And that was really hard. But after that experience, and it's hard to put things in linear time as I'm going through these experiences. I remember as we're coming back and experiencing what we would call the light, being in the light. A lot of people talk about this, and I don't know, I can't put it in linear time exactly when I was in the light. I just know that I was there at one point during this experience, whether it was the whole time or when I first met Yeshua or when I was coming out. I don't know. I just remember being there in the light, and in God's light. I feel very strongly God's light. And the experience is more than we can imagine, where I was smiling so wide that if I was in physical form, it would have, my face would have broken. Because that's how I was just filled with joy and filled with so much love and joy and acceptance and peace. It was palpable. It enveloped every cell or a part of me. I was part of the light. I knew then I was home. I knew that there was nothing that I could do or say or think that would keep me from being in the light. That there was total forgiveness, total love, total, I hope I'm making sense, but it was just all about that, being the light. Okay. And then it wasn't too long after that, where that's my little dog, where I end up being slammed back into my body. Oh, and I will say that as I lifted up out of my body, I saw a bus coming headed toward my body, and I'm thinking, I hope that bus doesn't run over my body, because that would be kind of, not good, messy. And it stopped right away. But and I remember thinking, okay, well, good, I'm here. But that's when I felt the pain, and I jumped up. My friends are freaking out. Everyone's freaking out, and to believe it's astonishing to me that my head wasn't crushed. It did feel like it was crushed afterwards. They call an ambulance for me. They take me to the hospital. My hair was falling out because I had tire tracks on my head. They were teasing me in the hospital because I had tire tracks across my head. I still have a couple of scars on my head and my legs, but I didn't suffer anything that was broken. I didn't have a concussion. I had just some muscle and tissue damage in my back. I mean, it took quite a bit of rehab, and I still have to, maintain the pain and stuff like that. But I know that angels were taking care of me, or I probably would have been paralyzed, or, I did die, but yeah. So I was very blessed. And my teacher, who Yeshua, he did share a lot of things with me in my meditations afterwards, where I was able to pull the information from my experience into my meditations, because it was too much. He told me it was too much for me to be able to bring back all at once. And so I had to bring it in increments because of the trauma. Yeah. So some of what he shared with me in my meditations after that was about what's happening now in the world. And I was experiencing ended up being a germaphobe. Okay. So I was experiencing what's going on now with the COVID and everything like that. I was going through that on a personal level. Well, I was afraid of everyone. I was afraid they were going to make me sick. I was afraid of all that. So I went through that on a personal level so that I could, handle it when the time came in a different light. Okay. I'm not saying there's not a virus or anything like that. I'm just saying that I went through the total fear and anxiety of it at that time. Okay. Even though there was no reason for it, I just went through it. When I was in the temple, they called the psych ward, my guys called it the temple on the hill, because when I was there, I would wash my hands and then throw the paper towel on the floor and kick it out the door in my little room, because I didn't want it in my room. Oh my gosh, it's got germs. And when the nurses or would try to give me some medicine or anything like that, or some meds, I wouldn't take it. They actually had to hold me down and give me a shot. And, or if one of them were talking to me, I'd tell them, okay, I can't. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right.
I can.
Okay. All right. Did you mute me on purpose, Jim? Okay. Whoops, you're muted.
I was trying to mute somebody else. And
Okay, and you got me. That's okay. I'm kidding. So I was talking to my peeps. I ended up being in contact with galactics at that time too. So I realized I had a husband on the ship. Okay, now tell me this isn't crazy to people, but I was going through all this. Okay, thank you. And so, and I'd tell them, I can't hear my husband on the ship, so can you stop talking to me right now? And they're like rolling their eyes. Oh, another one of them. Okay, So it was things like that I was dealing with that put me in a psych ward. Yeah, people didn't understand what was going on with me. I was, and I was very blessed that I had a very loving family and an employer who was able to give me that space to heal during that experience. And so it was amazing. He did, my guides did show me that about mind control and how we are, I was going through a dark night of the soul and I believed it was in Atlantis where I remembered where we were victims of mind control. And I was afraid to think anything because I knew that the bad guys or reptilians, whoever you want to call them, could read my mind. And so I didn't want them to know what was going on in my mind. And so I realized that that we've come kind of full circle when it comes to Atlantis. If anyone's familiar with what went on in Atlantis, seems like a very aware group. That we've kind of come full circle. We're wearing different clothes, at the time of Atlantis, and so mind control was very big back then. It's very big right now, and that was a really scary thing for me. I also was taught or shown things that are had happened before that are coming back to happening now, where information will be, I guess you can say, censored. Lots of information like books or things like that, if they're digital, that they would be erased from our devices, things like that. I saw that 20 years ago. I saw that happening. That happened back in Atlantis. Things like that happened. People would be persecuted for their views, for their beliefs, anything like that. That happened in Atlantis. Things like that are starting to happen. So there was a lot that I was being shown and remembering at that time during my meditations. And I also went through what they call a Kundalini experience. So that was a lot of it as well, where the energy comes up the spine and helping to bring up memories. If anyone's experienced anything like that, where you have these memories that are coming up through the Kundalini, through the chakras. That's where we hold our memories. And that was terrifying as well. So I spent every night, every evening after work in meditation in my room or speaking to my loved ones on the other side. That was that was my life at that time. And they helped me realize, they also teach me about soul retrieval and how to remember past lives. They helped me through many past lives, many past lives where I've had traumatic experiences, and to help me clear those past lives and not repeat those again, by understanding why I chose to to experience those again, so we could clear them. And Yeshua helped me, believe it or not. He's the one that helped me with understanding reincarnation and soul retrieval. and help others with the same type of work that we used to remember how to perform on ourselves. We've just forgotten. Yeah. Because we used to be able to do that, help heal ourselves. We used to be able to heal ourselves. We just forgotten how. And also one thing that was very pivotal for me with my cousin was Yeshua had me sit in meditation, forgiveness meditation every night for whatever I wanted to try to forgive. And I thought, well, my cousin's a good place to go with that. Even though I didn't feel any animosity toward him or anything like that, I didn't. But I realized that there was something deep in me that needed to be cleared. And so I don't remember how many times I sat in this forgiveness meditation where it took for me to understand that he and I made an agreement to come onto this planet, or come into another lifetime where he would, be the abuser and I'm the victim, or whatever you want to call it, so that I could heal that within me. And I realized that it started out, and I remembered a lifetime with my mother and I in Italy, in a small, I don't know, I just remember her being a region. I don't remember the exact place, where she and I would throw Christians to the lions. And she and I made that agreement to where we would close that karmic loop in that lifetime, because that's the whole idea, for us to have this experience, what I learned, and then resolve it in that same lifetime, so we can choose another experience, so we can grow and have empathy or whatever, and understand these experiences. Well, what happened was my cousin was a man in that lifetime that I ended up marrying, and he was a bad person. And this was the original lifetime where we chose this experience. And he wanted all the power of what we were, of the region, the community that we were in charge of. And so he ended up killing her and I together and throwing us to the lions. And she and I and the lions got stuck in that experience. And so I had lifetime after lifetime where he and we agreed where he would come back and be the bad guy, and I would be the victim. And I just couldn't get that experience and bring that into my center and heal that until this lifetime. And in that meditation, I realized, oh my gosh, he lowered his vibration so low in all these lifetimes, because in this lifetime, he's an alcoholic, he's abusive and all that. He agreed to lower his vibration so low to help me heal that agreement, or heal that experience. And I realized that he had nothing but unconditional love for me. He wasn't my abuser or anything like that. He had nothing but total unconditional love for me to be able to do that. And so it released both of us from that agreement. And now he can move up. I've released that agreement. In the meditation, I tore up the agreement. He can move up in frequency now and heal himself. And I was completely healed from that. I don't need to repeat that experience with him. And so that was huge for me. And that was a huge, thank you. Yeah, that was a huge healing for me, in which I understood. There was another experience I want to share real quick, and then we can move to questions if you'd like. I remembered a lifetime in the Civil War where I was, my name was Prudence, and I had a brother, and I was named Quincy, which is pretty funny that I was sharing during this time I was sharing my experiences on a spiritual group online. And we were talking about spirit rescue at the time, and I went to the east side of the United States. I think I shared this with Jim. I went to the east side of the United States to help the band Great White, who burned. There was a fire if anyone remembers, in Rhode Island. This was, I don't know, 15, 16, maybe 20 years ago, gosh, where people were stuck inside the building. And you remember that, Sally? Yeah. And so I did a spirit rescue to help those people move across. And I ended up at someone's house on the other side of the United States. And so, and then I ended up going to the pub, the bar, the club, and help rescue those people. But when I went to a house first, because in and out of my experience, when you're doing something like this, sometimes you're just taken to places and you don't know why you're there. You're just there. You're drawn there for a reason. And I saw this couple playing cards, and I didn't recognize, but I kind of toured the house and saw what was in it. And then I shared this on the group I was on, and there was a gentleman on the group that said, "You were in my house," and he lives in Rhode Island. He says, "You were in my house." He goes, "You described my house," and I had never been to his house. And he goes, "My wife and I play cards with our neighbors, like once a week on weekends or something like that." So I had been at his house. Ends up, as we're sharing experiences, he was my brother in that lifetime in the Civil War. Okay, so it's just amazing to me. His name was Quincy. We didn't know each other in this lifetime, but we came to get together on the internet, and we shared experiences that neither one of us would have known if, but you know what I mean. So I was having dreams that a little boy was looking for his mother at that time. And this goes back to this lifetime, which is pivotal for me. And he was about 2 or 3 years old. And I was trying to help him in my dreams find his mother. Okay. Well, one night I'm laying in meditation. I'm about to fall asleep, and I'm in a trance state. And all of a sudden, and I'm wide awake, actually, the ceiling disappears. And I see this bright beam of light shoot down and hit me in my solar plexus. And I hear that angelic music, that really beautiful angelic music. And I see this little boy I see in my dreams rising up into this beam of light out of my solar plexus, into this beam of light, and moving up, and I can still see it in my mind's eye. And then it goes up into this sky, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And then I don't see him anymore. And then the ceiling comes back. No, I hear a really loud booming voice, "It is done." And the ceiling comes back, and I'm back here. And I realize that was my little boy from the past life I was being shown in Civil War. I had a little boy that died, and I could never get over it. And I was holding him in my solar plexus. I had a son in this lifetime that I gave up for adoption when I was 17. I didn't feel worthy of having children. I didn't feel worthy of, because of that lifetime. So that was something that was healed for me as well. Yeah. That's just a thank you. So if anyone has any questions, I'm open to questions. You too, Jim.
We have a question that's been submitted by Joanne in the chat. I would say if there are two ways you can submit questions. One would be through the chat room, but if you want to personally pose your question, if you could raise your hand. There are some people here like Dr. Nancy who probably aren't capable of raising a hand in the room, but that's another way to let me know you'd like to pose a question. So this first one is from Joanne Healy. It says, "What do you do to heal? What did you do to heal that with him?" She's referring back to your abuser. "Tear up the agreement, question mark, release. And how do you relate to him after you heal, or do you not have anything to do with him?" So it's exploring that relationship, that contract, and where it currently stands.
Sure. Well, first of all, I didn't have a relationship with him in this lifetime. I've only seen him, I don't know, a handful of times as I grew up after we moved out of my grandmother's house. So he was not, and he's still not in my life. I just don't have any reason. He's on a part of the family, my dad's side of the family, where I have tons of cousins, and we don't really, we don't communicate with each other that much. But so I don't really have a relationship with him. How it healed was when I realized it felt spontaneous to me when I realized that it was spontaneous. There's nothing really to forgive. Forgiveness is not needed because he loved me so much to be this person that is, not a nice person. And so he now can move up in frequency. He can move on to his spiritual journey and find that part of himself that has been missing, because he did it for me. And to me, that was huge. So there's no one can tell me that is not something that he doesn't have total unconditional love for me because of that. And I felt that for him. So that itself was how I was able to heal, understanding that relationship and that agreement. I hope that answered your question.
Well, I have a lot of psychic abilities myself, and I've had incredible experiences. And what I find is that when I break a contract with somebody, they don't change. They just go on to some other person and do. It's like that's their way of operating in the world, and I just step away from it. But they just do they continue to do their stuff. So I don't quite understand how it heals.
Well, sure, I understand. I think I understand what you're saying. It healed me. Okay, I can't be responsible for his healing, but I know that because I was shown, because of the fact that I was able to forgive, which I didn't feel forgiveness was even needed. I was able to get past that experience and forgive the whole experience. And it doesn't mean I forgave him. I just forgave the whole experience, where I didn't need to come back and do it anymore. That I was shown that it also heals him on some level. Now, I don't know where he's at in his life, whether he's gotten better. I would imagine. All I can say is we'll know that maybe when we meet in our soul group on the other side again, and we can look at each other and talk and say, oh, well, thanks. Oh, I'm glad I'm glad that we're done with that agreement. He's like, yeah, now I can move on. I can move on to something better, because it's not up to me to determine where the other person is in their healing process. I can't judge that. I can only judge how it's affecting me. That's the only thing I can do.
Yeah,
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I think about it. That, but when you mentioned about him moving up, I was just questioning. It's not what I've seen. It just seems like people go on to do stuff to other people. It's like they find that other piece to the scenario and they continue it. So that's dependent. I agree totally on them and what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think every person's different as well. Yeah, everyone's different. And just because we don't see, I also feel that just because we don't see that they're maybe
Right.
Acting in a different way doesn't mean that there's not something going on. Because as you know, I'm sure, Joanne, that what we experience in the physical realm is like less than 1% of what's really going on with everyone, with us.
Right.
Yeah.
My other question was about, I've had clients, because I do psychic readings and counseling and just different things, but it's happened in all of these different areas of people coming to me. And I've had the experience myself about repeating a pattern over and over, like that the pattern keeps continuing with another person, like instead of breaking the pattern. Like what is your understanding of that?
Of a pattern?
a,
How do,
a pattern of relationship that's not healed. So like
okay.
I had a girl that came to me that was raped 3 times, and each time she took judo. She went out with a police officer and the police officer raped her. It was like the pattern
Yeah.
kept up even though she was doing all this stuff to not be raped.
Right. Yeah. So what I've learned and what Yeshua taught me, what my guides taught me as well, I had a whole room full of guides. I was in my room at a certain time every night, and I could see them pretty clearly. I mean, they weren't just physical like this, but I could see them. They're translucent. And we're all sitting there in a classroom. And so they taught me that in order to heal patterns, we have to look at where these patterns began, and we have to heal that, the beginning of the pattern, or the crux of it, and understand it. Understand that we're repeating this program because we didn't heal it at that time. And just like that first, what I was talking about, that first experience that I had with Terry and the lions and my mom, that karmic loop wasn't healed in that, or completed in that lifetime. We used to be able to live a lot longer than we do, so we could complete a lot of karmic loops in our lifetimes, but our lives have been shortened. And so we don't have a lot of time. We keep coming back to try to heal them. And then we have to start over from scratch, right? Well, we forget how to do all this. And so healing that pattern in the beginning and understanding it, and then moving on and saying, okay, well, I don't need to do that anymore, and understanding where it came from is the only way that I know of to be able to heal that pattern, and facing that we did make that choice and taking responsibility for that choice. And Ho'oponopono is another great way to do that as well. If you're familiar with Ho'oponopono, Joanne.
Yes.
Okay. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, somewhat. I don't know. I still I have had clients that go back to the start and it still doesn't heal them. So
well, but have they understood that this was a choice they made, and they were able to heal that program and understand exactly why that happened and why they made that choice? Did they take responsibility for it? Because that's the cue right there. I mean, that's what we need to do. That's what Ho'oponopono is all about as well, is taking responsibility for that choice and understanding that, okay, I made this choice for whatever reason, and now we can move on. I don't have to keep repeating that pattern and keep vibrating at that frequency where I'm attracting rape, or I'm attracting, bad relationships or whatever, because we made this choice. And that's why these experiences keep happening.
Sharon, we've got some other questions popping
Okay, sorry. I could talk all night about this stuff. Okay.
Here's one from Jill Mathis. What do you perceive happens of people of different faiths? From what I understand, we are greeted by the master we believe in.
I would agree with that. Yes. I mean, from what I know and about near-death experiences, or even out-of-body experiences or anything like that, and if we make a intention to meet our guides, that we are greeted by, it could be our guides, whoever those are, whoever we resonate with, whoever we are taught to believe in, or have in our culture. So like I said, I was raised Christian, so that was who I was met by, was Yeshua, and I believe. So yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Okay.
If that answers that question, I hope.
Norman poses a little longer question to you. During your second NDE, I noticed you said, I became part of the light, instead of, I became one with the light.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like even when in the light, you still retained a sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any time during your second NDE, or in your meditation since, when you felt a loss of self or ego death? When did that occur, and what is your understanding of the cause of your ego death?
Wow, that's quite the question. as far as ego death, it can be a scary thing for us here. Okay, the ego is the main reason. The main goal of the ego is to survive. Right, that's the main goal of the ego, and it's the ego that has fear of death. So when I was in the light, I didn't think about the ego. I didn't think about whether I was part of the light. I didn't think about whether I was in the light. I don't know. Maybe the language is wrong, but all I know is that I was filled with light. I felt part of the light. I knew that I was surrounded and filled with source, I guess you could call God, creator. I knew that was that I was home, and I guess you could say I still had an ego with me, at a sense of personality with me. Yeah, because I came back. I don't know, but like I don't know, and it doesn't mean that I don't. That there isn't more of my out of body experiences I haven't remembered yet. I don't feel I've remembered everything from it. And anyone who's had an out of body experience, or a near death experience, excuse me, might agree with this. If anyone here who has, yeah, that there's probably a lot more that we haven't even been able to process yet. So yeah, and it might come in increments. I don't know, but. I guess you could say I did have some of my personality. I really don't know. I can't answer that question. I know that I knew that I was home and I didn't want to come back.
Hillary's got a question for you. Hillary, you want to unmute?
Hey, so kind of piggybacking off of the other person's question about who they think greets you when you die or whatever, based on what you believe. What would you say, or what is your opinion on people like me who I'm not religious? I don't attach to any of it. When I did have an out-of-body experience, I went to what I refer to now as the universal consciousness. And my own understanding there was we are God.
Right.
Expressing him, like it's crazy. But
no, I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
So, and my personal wish is for nothingness when I die. I still refuse to accept that I have to reincarnate again. But yeah, what would you what's your opinion then on, like I said, someone when they die or whatever, and they don't have a particular God that they subscribe to?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, in my opinion, because who knows, right? Yeah. I was not religious either. I like I said, I was a very bad Catholic. I wasn't religious. I just knew of Jesus. I knew of, I went to Catholic school for 5 years, I believe, and I was not, the nuns did not like me, and so that's who showed up for me. I recognized him, and it could be that he showed up for me because I had that, or I recognized him, a light being who because I remember being a nun in another lifetime. So I have a Catholic, a Christian background in past lives as well. Because I believe that we are we are all of our lives, not just one life, right? And I agree with you, Hillary, that we are source experiencing. We are light. That's who we are. Yeah. And we're we're light in human form, and we're multidimensional, and we have lots and lots of experiences, not just this experience, and that's what we do. We experience life on other planets. We experience life in on other dimensions. We're doing it all, and that's the whole idea. That's what Source is experience. That's what we're doing. So as far as, in my opinion, and what I understand, as far as not having any affinity for any type of religion or spiritual guru or anything like that, I believe that whoever is working with you, because I believe we all have spirit guides. We all have beings on the other side. And I don't care what anybody says. I've seen them. I know in my heart and soul that we have beings that are working with us. So you're probably, met by them. We're never alone. Never, ever, ever alone. I've learned that. And so you're met by these immensely loving beings who will work with you here and have worked with you for, probably since you were the spark that created Hillary and all your other lifetimes. And so there's I've heard people say that I'm concerned that nobody's going to be there when I die. I'm like, don't ever worry about that, because we have so many people. Well, we have, first of all, loved ones, of course. We'll have family, and we have light beings. We have guides that are there to help us, and all we have to do is turn our attention to the light. Because when I do spirit rescues and past life soul retrievals, which are pretty much the same thing, I always ask people, the beings that I'm communicating with that are stuck on the earth plane, I call them stuck because their attention is on the earth plane, just to turn around and see the light and move and be a part of the light. But your loved ones are there waiting for you, and all you have to do, and there is no judgment, because there's many of us think that we're going to be judged and are afraid. I had to help retrieve my grandmother. She was very religious, and she was a fundamentalist, and believed that God punishes you for this and that and this and that and this and that. So she was afraid to die. She lived till she was like 100, and she was bedridden for 10 years, and she was afraid to die because she thought she was going to be punished. So know this: there are many, many loving beings that will be there.
Oh yeah, I'm not scared of dying. Like,
Good.
really, I'm not. I'm scared of reincarnating.
Yeah, well, I believe it's a choice. It's a choice, and
That's. I mean, I guess I believe that. I just I'm still bitter about it or something.
Oh, I get
Or
it.
you might find that your perspective is different when you get on the other side.
Right.
Well, I mean, when I had that out-of-body experience, I mean, like, and like how the other person said the ego is still there. I think part of that is because we are still, at least when we come back here, we're still processing through this human brain, right? And so, and what we're being told or things that are helpful are what's going to help us in this life. So it is kind of about the ego in ways. But when I was up there, I wasn't really thinking about myself. I mean, I was being told things about certain people in my life. But I mean, it was absolute, just bliss and pure love and belonging. And I have never felt that way in my life. And I probably never will again here. So when when I was up there, there was no bitterness. There was no resentfulness. There was nothing. It was just pure love. And I was just in complete and total awe. That it even existed, and it was great.
Yeah.
Sally's got a question for you.
Okay.
This is what she typed. What's the best way to explore the past lives that are relevant to the one we're living today? So I assume that means if you want to try to improve the quality of your life today, how do you go about finding which ones are having the biggest impact on you?
Right. Well, my guides have taught me that you go into meditation and you ask your guides to show you a lifetime that needs to be healed, and don't judge it. You know what I mean? Because we're not in control anyway. We think we are, but we're not. But and your guides, they know us inside and out. They know us better than we know ourselves, and they know what we have experienced, and what we need to heal. And so that's how they taught me. And I was shown these really, really traumatic lifetimes over and over and over and over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, didn't I choose any good lifetimes? And and they're like, well, yeah, but they're not the ones that need to be healed. So we need to work on these. And then they show me a good one. They threw me a bone and show me a good lifetime. But those aren't the challenging lifetimes are the ones that we choose so that we can experience that. And it gives us so much spiritual growth. we can choose lifetimes where we skate. I'm sure we've done that. We've all done that. But right now we're in a very pivotal time. We're at a turning point here, whereas we're moving into the higher dimensions, the fifth dimension, the fourth density, whatever you want to call it, into the heart space. And it's really, really critical, I feel, and what I'm being told, that we work on our healing.
There are a couple of questions that are related from Judy and I believe it's Gina. First, could you explain I'm going to read them all through. Could you explain your experience coming back to this life the second time? How did you choose to come back? And from Judy, you had a choice on whether to fully die or to come back to your body. I had the same choice in my NDE, and I made a deliberate decision to come back. Do you think everyone has a true choice whether to die?
I actually don't recall having a choice, to be honest with you. I recall being told I needed to come back. I don't remember saying any choice. I just remember them telling me that my work was not done, and that and they knew that I would say, I would fight and want to stay, because I say that a lot and sometimes in my out of body experiences, because they're so I enjoy my out of body experiences in these other planes. I remember one time not too long ago, I asked my guide that I was communicating with, I said, well, can I stay here with you? And he says, well, you're about 2/3 of the way done. So, so I'm like, that means another 30 years. So I know, right? And so I don't remember giving a choice. Some people, I think everyone's different, to be honest with you, Judy. I'm glad that you were given a choice. Yeah. I don't remember giving a choice. But that's okay with me. I looked at life very differently.
I've read about 2,000 first-person near-death experiences. And of course, when you read an experience, 100% of the time they came back, right? So it seems to me that some people are forced to come back, and some are shown what could happen if they don't come back, and they make a choice to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then we don't know about all the people that may be given a choice and they say, I want to stay here, and they go on. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right, Sharon. It's there are a diversity of experiences, and it's not like there's one option only.
Yeah, everyone's experience is different. Every teacher is different. So everyone's life plan and journey is different. Yeah.
There's a question, maybe we ought to take a moment. If you could type your website in, how do we schedule a past life retrieval session?
Oh, yeah, it's, sure, I'll type it in chat here. SharonSananda.com. Did I spell that right? Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, just contact me, or you can email me at SharonSananda@gmail.
And Norman has a question.
Sure.
Scroll back up. You just mentioned that we are not in control. Does that also mean that we don't have free will?
I was talking to somebody about that today. No, I believe we have, I guess what we might call, what we think is free will for little things in our life, for decisions that we might want to make about, well, I don't know, what do you call it, little, for instance, healing the experience I had in that other lifetime, the one that I shared with the lions and my mother. So that was a choice that I made, or a plan was to heal that, or to understand it. But the free will was that I kept my attention on the earth plane. Okay. And so that's what I guess is free will. What I understand is free will. I believe that we do have a life plan, and that there are people who believe every little thing in our life is planned out, every little thing. I believe that it can be somewhat flexible, but the bigger things and our purpose and things like that, we plan out. Our family, we plan. Our relationships, our work, our body. If anyone's read Journey of Souls here, I would highly recommend that book because it talks a lot about planning our life and what we do in the in-between lives. Dr. Michael Newton, yeah. Amazing Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, and I agree with a lot of his information from what I understand. But I do believe we have free will in some areas of our life. But as far as the bigger things, I kind of feel, and what I understand is we're very connected to our higher self. Well, of course we're connected. We are our higher self, right? In physical form. And so, and we have our guidance who is here to help us create our plan, to walk our plan, to live our plan. And if we choose to turn left instead of right, they're still with us. It doesn't mean that we've gone way off course. They're still with us to help us on our plan, maybe bring us back a little bit toward the plan. So as far as not when I said we're not in control, what I meant, or what I mean is we still have a plan and we still have a lot that our unseen helpers are steering us toward, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Deb Johnson has one. She had an NDE in a dream state, it sounds like. And she's wondering, connecting with that feeling of love from source, is it the same if you get it through meditation as opposed to, say, experiencing NDE? Is that the same tapping into one source, or are there different types of love sources that people might be experiencing?
I believe it's all the same love, but it's different different frequencies. The more intense would. I mean, how do you explain love, right? We all know what love is. I mean, when you think about love, you think about loving your loved, your partner, your child, your animal. If you multiply that by 1,000,000 or 1,000 or something like that, then maybe it can be a little bit of what source, I would imagine, feels like. Our body can't handle a lot of source love because it is such a high vibration. It would burn us up. So as far as in meditation or in the dream state, I think the question was in meditation. I've experienced some really intense feelings of love in meditation, and just communicating with my guides, like sitting here or something like that. It's still the same love. It's just on a different level, if that makes any sense. I don't think there's different types of love. I believe it's all love. Love is love, and that's what we are anyway. We're love. We're here to express love. We're here to be in love. We're here to show love. We're here to love ourselves and be love. So
let's see. I'm trying to find more. There are comments in here. I hope people are reading the comments. Some are trying to get to the questions.
I haven't read them.
That's all right. I'm really talking to everybody else. Hopefully everybody's paying attention to the comments that are flowing, because we're not going to have time to go to each of them individually, but let's see. I have a question for you. You talked about going to this water planet, and that felt like home for you.
Yes.
Felt more connected to that than you do here. So, but it would seem like maybe I'm overthinking this, but it seems as if you decided to come here because you can experience something here that you can't experience there, and you need this for your evolution. Is that a fair assessment?
Sure, that makes total sense. Yeah.
So you don't have any recollection of making a choice then to come to this planet?
Well, the choice I remember making was actually during a plant medicine ceremony, and I remember being this galactic being, whatever you want to call it. I just remember I was a huge being. There were giants on the planet, and I was, compared to who I am now, I'm a pretty tall person, but I was a huge being. And I'm talking to my parents, and I'm a young galactic being, I guess you could call it. And I'm talking to my parents, and I hear the call from Earth, and I tell my parents, my galactic parents, well, I want to go help that planet. And they're telling me, well, I don't know, you're kind of young. And I'm like, but having a fit, I want to go. I'm seeing this in just as real as anything. And if anyone's had any ceremonies, but and I talked them into it, and so I end up coming to Earth to experience, to help. And I've been here a very, very long time, and I got lost in the drama of this planet, the whatever, I don't know. I understand I've had 37,000 lifetimes, and so that's a lot of lifetimes going way, way back. So Dolores Cannon, if anyone's, or not, yeah, Dolores Cannon,
Mm-hmm.
the author, if anyone knows her, she's amazing. She's passed on now, but she wrote some really amazing books. She said when she hears someone is an old soul, she thinks it makes her think that they're just a slow learner. And I'm like, that's me, because I obviously didn't get it right for many, 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 many lifetimes. I kept coming back, and I think we come back because we're attached to certain emotions, certain things, certain situations, certain people, that kind of thing. The physical experience on this planet is unique, and this is a very unique experience. And so only the brave come here. I've learned that. And we can get, caught up in the drama and everything here. So, yeah, I believe I chose it. That, from that perspective, I remember making that choice from that perspective. Of, we're all galactic beings here. We're all so much more than our Earth body. This is just a tiny part of who we really are. So I was just able to glean that memory.
I'm going to make a little promotional thing here for a moment. We are recording this. You will be able to access it via our website, www.consciousnesscafe.com, and we have a YouTube channel, The Consciousness Cafe. And Sharon, I imagine that we'll pass this along to you. You have a YouTube channel that has some interesting things on it. If you want to type in your YouTube channel, let people know about that.
Sure. Here's Nanda Kumara, and that was a name that I learned. If anyone's interested, I can share a little bit about that I remembered as I was working with Yeshua. His higher self name, I guess, in the higher planes is Nanda Kumara. And I was working with him during my quickening. He helped me remember that I'm part of the Kumara family, which is a huge, huge, huge family that's come to this planet. And that's probably why he, I saw him in those experiences. Now that, of course, and so what it means, what I understand is Sharon is the feminine, Sananda is the masculine, Kumara is of source. To put in easy terms is what that name means. So that's why I
Okay.
use that name. I saw something. Is it?
Alyssa had a question. I wanted to ask if you have ever
Sure.
had that feeling of recognition with someone you may have been in another lifetime with here in this lifetime.
Oh, yes. All the time, I think. I mean, when you start looking at your lifetimes and realizing that you've chosen to be with the people that you're with many, 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 many times, I kind of feel that there's really nothing new, that we're repeating experiences. And as we repeat these experiences, we hope to go higher and higher. That's the plan on the spectrum, because time is not linear. I've learned it's cyclical. And so we go higher on the spectrum. And so we're experiencing things, with a lot of people in our soul groups. And I can meet someone and pretty much instantaneously realize that I've had a lifetime with them. I mean, it takes me a couple minutes to maybe get the details, but I'm sure everyone here, when they meet someone, they know if they recognize them right away, right? Yeah, and it's because we've traveled with them, we've had other experiences with them, and we keep coming back together because we keep being drawn to these same people. We make these plans as we come back and try to get up, move up the spectrum.
We have a question. This is an interesting one. You mentioned the mind control that happened in Atlantis with the reptilians.
Mm-hmm.
2 questions. Are the reptilians the same as the Anunnaki? And how can we defend ourselves against the mind control that's happening now?
Yeah, I understand that the reptilians, I guess you'd call them Anunnaki as well, the Orion group. If you are anyone here is aware of the galactic wars, when way back when we blew up a planet, this is way before Atlantis, and we created a hole in the galactic matrix, and so the Orion group was able to infiltrate our galaxy, and the reptilian part of Orion, the Orion group, Orion star system, and this could be the Anunnaki. That there's a good faction of the Anunnaki and a bad faction of the Anunnaki, if you want to look at it that way, good and bad. Enlil and who are they? The brothers, Enki and Enlil, I understand, are the ones that came into this galaxy and into and onto our planet way back when. There's a lot of information out there, and it's been taken out of our cell memory. So we have to work really hard to remember these things. But I do remember fighting in a galactic war long time ago. I was a female soldier, and I was a Pleiadian at the time. And so I have a lot of memories that are kind of, it's hard to piece together when you're trying to piece all these pieces of the puzzle together. But I understand that the reptilians are the Orion group. I also remember being a reptilian in Atlantis. I remember quite a few lifetimes in Atlantis. And so I think we experience everything, right? And so I remember being such a good reptilian. And I was in that lifetime that I was being shown, I was stealing. I had to wear a breather to be on this planet, and I was stealing air from this air building machine, whatever it was. I don't know. I don't have words for it. And I was stealing air, oxygen, whatever it was. And a Syrian being came in, big, beautiful Syrian being who I recognize as my mate on Sirius. And his name is Kalrek, and he came in, but in that lifetime, we chose to have this experience together, and we fought, and he fought me, and he ends up killing me because he knocks the breather off my face, and I end up dying. And that but that was that experience was karmically healed in that lifetime. So I just wanted to share that because that was a cool experience for me. Because I remember that being Karmic, gorgeous Syrian being. If anyone's familiar with the Syrians here, they're gorgeous, gorgeous beings. So as far as mind control, I would say just have a strong mind. Don't get caught up in anything that is against what you feel is right for you. Keep your mind strong, through meditation, through connecting to source, connecting to your higher beings. Make sure that you spend a lot of time within, because all of this is an illusion anyway. If anyone here is familiar with the Matrix, this is all an illusion. So what's real is what's within us. That's what's real. So as long as we realize this is, we're all players in a movie, in the Matrix, that sooner or later this will end, and all we have left is what's within us, which is our mind and our heart and our soul. So to control your thoughts as much as you can. Meditation helps with that. Focus, out of body experiences help a lot with that, because we need focus in our out of body experiences, and just be focused in our thoughts and not stay protected in that way, if that makes any sense.
Here's a question, an interesting one. Do you have any sense for when this mass ascension will happen?
Well, it's happening now.
Yeah,
it's happening now. It's been happening.
When will we get the truth about beings in other vibrations, planets, and free energy, and other technological advances being kept from us?
Yeah, my peeps, I call my peeps, I communicate with them every day, and they help me discern information. That's another really good thing, is discernment all the time. What your intuition tells you, what your gut instincts tell you, what your mind, your heart tells you, all together. So when I communicate with them, I really don't ask them questions like that, but I do get information about all the things that that have been hidden from us. And I got this back in my quickening as well during my near-death experience, is that that it'll be revealed to us before 2029. I'm getting that 2029 is going to be a big time for us. It could be what we might call the mass thing. This might be the complete tipping point. But I'm getting 2029 is a big deal for us. So what I'm getting regularly is a lot's going to happen between now and then with the med beds, the free energy, all that being brought to the surface, and our actual heritage being revealed, and who we really are. The stuff that's been hidden from us for a very, very long time.
Here's a question from Kathleen. Probably a number of people would have an answer to this question, but we'll direct it to you. How come there has to be pain and evil in life?
Good question. Yeah, I probably ask that every day. Well, I believe that we're here to experience the whole spectrum of emotion, the whole spectrum of the human experience. And so, in order to have the good, we have to have the bad. In order to feel good, we have to have the pain, because we don't know when we feel good if we don't have pain, right? I mean, we don't know if we don't have a headache. We know when we've had a headache, and then when we don't have a headache, we're like, oh yeah, I feel better. I feel good now. So I believe that we're here to experience the whole thing. And again, the goal is to heal or understand the pain and what we might call negativity. It's just light and dark, right? And so understanding that we all have that within us, and we don't want to look at it. It's hard to look at it. We've had experiences, we've had lifetime experiences I know that we're not proud of, that we chose chosen to be maybe not such a good person. And so, and we've done things in our current life we're not proud of. And so, just healing that and moving on from that and forgiving ourselves is really important. So it's just experience in what I understand.
Yeah, here's a question that might pose on that. How can you learn about forgiveness if you don't have something to forgive?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, totally.
So the things we learn in life often come from the difficulties. So, I think when we get to the other side, you don't see them as being painful or difficult. You're thankful for the experience you had.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's our challenges that we grow from, right? I mean, if everything was hunky dory and we were all in bliss, and that, which is good, of course, but I think the human condition needs challenges. That's the way we are, and we're always growing. Even our guides are growing and working on their evolution.
Question about meditation. Any specific advice you have for people?
Meditation.
It doesn't say what specifically. I assume that there are different meditation techniques, and maybe.
Yeah. Right. There's all kinds of techniques. The one I use is I call reflection, and the one I was taught is just reflecting on my thoughts and not being, hard on myself or anything like that. Just letting my thoughts flow, and I need probably about 30 minutes for my thoughts to just kind of go away, right, into where I'm not constantly being bombarded with thoughts and things like that, or thinking about whatever. And so I need, ideally for me, I need an hour. Everyone's different. You can start out with 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever, but I find if I haven't meditated, I haven't been in that place of reflection, then I can tell a big difference in how I handle things in my day and how I feel, and in my work too. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of meditation techniques out there. I just use that. We're sitting quietly within myself and go within.
Norman has a question for you. Can you please explain exactly what you mean by this all being an illusion? If we're here to fulfill our purpose and learn necessary lessons, how can this be done within an illusion?
Well, that's kind of like a whole class on the holographic universe, right? So I believe that this is that we are existing in a holographic universe, and we're holographic. That's I've actually seen with my own eyes in a grocery store, the grid. Yeah. And I was not doing any drugs. I was not drinking. I wasn't doing anything like that. I wasn't partying at the time. I was just meditating. And I'm grocery shopping. This is an H-E-B in San Antonio, Texas. And all of a sudden, this whole illusion, what I would call an illusion, this whole matrix. If Norman, I would suggest watching The Matrix if you haven't. That's pretty much a documentary of what really is going on. And everything disappeared. And I saw blue-green grid lines, just like on the holodeck in Star Trek, except there were more green than blue. And I'm going to say about 3 seconds. When you think about it, is a long time to be standing in a grocery store and everything disappears, and you're looking at a grid. And I realized then, oh my gosh, this is not real. We're projecting this. Our higher self is projecting this through these projectors, our eyes, our senses, our 5 senses. We're projecting all our experience, everything. And our programming, our filters, our emotions, our thoughts, all of that determines our projections. That's what I've learned. And so the more we clear our blocks and our negative filters or anything like that, the more we raise in frequency, and the more that our life becomes more fulfilling, and we can see things more clearly. So that's how I understand about the illusion. There are times I'm driving down the road and I actually see cars or people on the sidewalk, and I can see it as a screen. These are not people moving like they do, I'm sitting here telling myself that I'm talking to you. You're sitting there telling yourself that you're talking, that you're listening. Hopefully I'm interesting. And so this is the illusion. And so it's a screen that we're looking at. And I know it's hard for me to grasp it, but sometimes when I'm out of that 3D state or that mind, I can, my senses tune into the screen. It's a movie. I don't know, Norman, how to answer that other than that, but I've seen it, I've experienced it.
So we've talked a lot about past lives, and I'm going to point something out. Daniel Endy's here with us. Daniel introduced me to someone who is rechanneling Seth. People know who Seth is.
Mm-hmm.
I posed a question to Seth and got an answer that I wasn't expecting. I asked, I feel I've made a lot of progress in this life understanding things. When I come to my next life, am I going to have to relearn all this stuff, or will I carry this stuff over? And the answer was, you have a misconception, Jim, about how this all works. You're thinking from an earth illusion that time is sequential. All these things, your past lives and your future lives, are happening right now. So don't think of it as being a sequential, you're going to build on what you did here. What you're doing here helps, but it's not, your next life is not going to be a sequential one. By the way, I think Daniel's working to have this individual who does this channeling be a presenter in a future event.
Nice. Yeah. I love Seth and his work for sure. That makes sense. I mean, when we're in the out of body state, or when we're in the dream state, I believe what I've experienced and understood is we go to that place of no time, right? That's why we're able to glean or see or experience past lives or future events, because we're in that space where we can see all around us. We can notice, and understand where we are in that space of everything happening at the same time, which, it's hard for us to wrap our head around it, but then we bring that back as long as we remember our dreams, and which is really important. And because we get so many messages from our dreams. And so as long as we bring that memory back, we can have prophecy, we can remember past lives, we can heal ourselves. We can do so much from accessing that part, that space, that place of no time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. We're kind of reaching the end of our time here.
Okay.
We're going to be posting this recording on our YouTube channel. So please visit us there. There was a question about the chat. Apparently there's a lot of information in the chat that an individual wanted to see. I'll have to explore. Maybe Sharon, you know this. When I post this recording, can people see the chat as well?
Yes, you can set it saves the chat for you. Zoom saves the chat as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sharon, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to, the breadth of experiences you've had. There's so many things we didn't get a chance to talk about, but your soul rescue work, for example, and also your out of body experiences exploring other realms. Maybe we'll have to have you come back and we'll focus on some of those things.
Yeah, that's fun.
And
Yeah,
I want to
totally.
thank everybody
Thank you, Jim.
participated this evening. It's nice that folks were asking questions and got involved, and we're all, we're at the forefront of this thing. We need to help people understand, if 2029 is where we're going to see a major shift. Well, we're the ones responsible for helping to usher that in. So thank you for being here, and look forward to maybe joining our Consciousness Cafe website.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you. Okay.